Hello, and welcome to Nexus Story Network.
The desert base was still asleep when the early warning sirens began to echo across the valley. At first, the sound was gentle, a soft repeating tone carried by the cold dawn air. Then the lights flickered on, long rows of floodlamps humming to life in synchronized ripples. Inside the control tower, screens flared with data streams. Engineers leaned over consoles, their tired faces illuminated by shifting telemetry graphs. One of them whispered. Re-entry trajectory stable. But life readings are low. Nobody liked that word. Low. A mission that left with a healthy crew should not return with low. But they kept watching. Waiting. Listening to the echo of the shuttle tearing through the atmosphere at Mach speeds. And then, right as the horizon began to glow with morning light, the shuttle broke through the cloud layer like a scar of fire across the sky. Every pair of eyes in mission control locked onto the descending craft. It shook violently as it dropped altitude. Heat shields cracked with booming echoes. Flaps screamed under the pressure. But somehow, it held together. The landing was rough. Sparks burst under the tires. Dust exploded from the runway. But the shuttle stayed upright, sliding to a noisy, grinding stop before falling still. Silence. A deep, heavy silence that didn't feel normal. A silence that felt like the world was holding its breath. The recovery team approached in a tight formation, boots pounding the ground in unison. Their radios buzzed with clipped instructions. Maintain distance. Check for breaches. Confirm thermal levels. When they reached the base of the shuttle's ramp, the hatch popped open with a metallic clank. A rush of cold, pressurized air hissed out, so cold that fog spilled across their boots. Then, footsteps. Slow. Unsteady. Dragging slightly. The astronaut appeared at the top of the ramp. His visor reflected the bright landing lights, making his eyes invisible. His suit was marked with small black burns, circular scars as if something had pressed against the fabric from the outside. But he was upright. Alive. Everyone exhaled in relief. Until someone noticed something was very wrong. A technician standing near the floodlights took a step back. "Wait, what is that?" he murmured. Another turned. Then another. And suddenly the entire recovery team froze, staring down at the ground. The astronaut reached the bottom of the ramp. But there was no shadow beneath him. Not a faint outline. Not a soft blur. Not even the thinnest suggestion of darkness. The lights were bright enough to cast razor-sharp shadows behind every tool cart, every vehicle, every person. But not him. The concrete beneath his boots was clean. Untouched by shadow. Untouched by physics. The technician rubbed his eyes. This has to be a reflection issue. But when he stepped forward, his shadow stretched perfectly across the concrete. The astronaut's didn't. It was as if light was passing around him, refusing to acknowledge he existed. The air felt colder suddenly, unnaturally cold. Even through their suits, the team shivered. Finally, the astronaut lifted his head. His face behind the visor was pale, almost gray. His lips trembled as he spoke the first words since landing. His voice was barely human, weak, distorted by exhaustion. "I shouldn't be here," he whispered. Nobody moved. He looked past the recovery team, past the lights, past the cameras. As if expecting something to be standing behind them. Then, quietly, he said. Something else should have come back. The elevator to the subterranean medical wing descended slowly, far slower than normal. Or maybe the team only felt it was slow, because the astronaut stood inside the elevator like a ghost, silent, empty, not entirely present. Once inside the quarantine corridor, the air pressure shifted. Doors hissed open with sterilized white light pouring out, bathing the metal walls in a harsh glow. The astronaut was guided into Observation Room A. Thick glass. Bright overhead lights. Cameras in every corner. A biometric scanner embedded in the floor. A nurse tried to help him remove his gloves, but he pulled away gently, like he didn't want contact. He removed the helmet himself. His hair was thinner. His skin looked drained of color. His eyes were bloodshot, with dark circles carved deep beneath them, as if he hadn't slept in months. A doctor outside the glass whispered. "Start the lighting test." An extra bright ceiling lamp switched on with a heavy click. The astronaut stood in the center of the room as instructed. The doctor watched the floor. Nothing. The astronaut's feet touched the tiles, but the tiles remained brightly lit, no shadow, not even a soft disturbance. The doctor whispered, "Control test, technician, step forward." A technician stepped into the same light. His shadow stretched instantly across the floor. The astronaut watched this with a strange expression. Not fear. Not confusion. But a deep, swallowing sadness. The nurse asked softly. "Do you feel all right?" He didn't answer. He just stared at the technician's shadow. Finally, he said in a hollow voice. "Strange, isn't it? How you don't notice something until it's gone." The nurse blinked. "What do you mean?" The astronaut shook his head. "My shadow. It didn't disappear." He looked directly into the camera, eyes trembling. "It left." The nurse stepped back instinctively. The astronaut lowered his gaze again, whispering. "And I think, it's still looking for me." Commander Rhea had slept barely 2 hours when the alarm jolted her awake. A sharp, electronic ping, ping, ping echoed through the cabin of Orbiter 9. Blue emergency lights pulsed around her like a silent heartbeat. Rhea pushed herself out of the cryo seat, hair floating in zero gravity as she grabbed the nearest console. Incoming transmission, source, unknown. Classification, non-human. Distance, 0.0004 Australian dollars. Rhea's eyes widened. 0.0004. That's, inside the ship's perimeter. She floated toward the observation deck, sliding hand to hand across the railings. Every corridor felt colder than it had yesterday. Every shadow felt heavier. As if something unseen was walking parallel to her. When she reached the deck, she froze. A sphere was hovering outside the ship. Silent. Metallic. Perfectly still. Not large, only the size of a helmet, but covered in glowing geometric patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. The object looked alive. Then it did something that made her own heartbeat stop. It blinked. Just once. As if acknowledging her presence. Rhea whispered, "What are you?" Suddenly the ship's AI, Phevos, crackled through the overhead speakers. "Commander. Foreign object has initiated a lock-on with the ship's neural grid. Should I repel the intrusion?" Rhea shook her head slowly. "No. Open the channel." The lights dimmed. And then. A voice filled the room. Soft. Calm. Too human to be alien, yet too alien to be human. "Commander Rhea, you finally heard us." Rhea instinctively reached for the plasma cutter at her belt. "You know my name. We know much more. The collapse you survived, didn't end." Her stomach twisted. Only one event in her life was ever called the collapse, the time-tier accident that killed her crew and ripped the sky open like paper. She had never spoken about the details. Never. Not to her commanders. Not to the academy. Not even in mission reports. "How do you know about that?" Rhea whispered. The sphere outside rotated, the patterns shifting into something like an eye. Because it wasn't an accident. It was a doorway. Rhea felt the air thicken. A doorway to what? The voice paused. Then answered. "A place where another you is still screaming." Her blood ran cold. Before she could speak again, the sphere shot forward, passing through the ship's hull as if the metal didn't exist. It materialized in front of her, floating silently, its patterns blazing red now. Phevos shouted through the system. "Commander! Unknown entity has breached the interior. Systems destabilizing." Rhea backed away as the sphere unfolded, panels sliding open like petals. A soft mist poured out. Inside the sphere was a hologram. A woman. Her. Same face. Same uniform. But covered in burns, blood, and shimmering distortions like broken time clinging to a corpse. The hologram lifted its head. And in her own voice, cracked, terrified, it whispered. "Rhea, don't trust the signal. It's not here to warn you. It's here to replace you." The hologram flickered violently and vanished. The sphere closed itself. Lights turned black-red across the room. And the voice returned, now colder. Phase 2 begins. Rhea steadied her breath, staring into the sphere as if looking into her own executioner. "Not today," she said. And she lunged. Rhea's leap toward the sphere felt like diving into a storm. The metallic petals snapped shut the moment her fingers touched them, the glowing lines on its surface flaring into a furious red spiral. The sphere shot backward, suspending itself in midair like a cornered animal, only far, far smarter. Rhea tightened her grip on the plasma cutter. "Phevos," she whispered, "contain it." The ship's AI responded instantly. Attempting magnetic lockdown. The floor vibrated as electromagnetic clamps activated. Blue arcs of light streaked toward the sphere. But the sphere phased sideways, slipping out of reality for a fraction of a second before reappearing several meters away. Rhea's breath caught. "Same displacement pattern as the collapse," she muttered. She remembered the day the sky tore open. She remembered the scream of space itself twisting. The feeling of falling and standing still simultaneously. The sphere was using the same physics that destroyed her original crew. This wasn't just a device. It was a fragment of the anomaly. Rhea steadied her breathing. Her voice was calm even though her pulse hammered in her ears. "Tell me what you want." The sphere rotated again, smooth, deliberate, constantly observing her movements. Then the voice returned. "You misunderstand, Rhea. It's not about what we want. It's about what you already brought with you." Her fists tightened. "Brought with me? I entered this mission alone." "No." The voice softened. "You returned, with a fracture." Rhea felt something inside her chest shift, like a muscle clenching where no muscle should exist. A faint ringing filled her ears. Not a sound. More like a memory trying to break through. She exhaled sharply. "I don't know what you mean." The sphere drifted closer, stopping just inches from her face. "Look at your shadow." Rhea froze. Slowly, painfully slowly, she turned her head toward the floor. There was the faint glow of console lights. The emergency strip along the wall. The blinking indicators reflecting off the metal. But on the floor, nothing. Her body cast no shadow at all. For the first time since returning from the collapse, Rhea felt genuine fear crawl under her skin. "I've always had a shadow," she whispered, voice trembling. The sphere pulsed brighter. "Not since the collapse. You left something there. And something else came back in its place." Rhea stepped away from it instinctively. "I'm human," she insisted. "I bleed. I breathe. I think." "Yes," the voice said, almost gently. "But something else thinks with you." Rhea's throat tightened. "What are you talking about?" The sphere opened slightly, just a slit, and projected a shimmering wave of holographic data into the air. Numbers. Patterns. Fractured time stamps. 3D models of her body, her neural scans, her movements over the last 3 weeks. Fivo's sputter. Commander, these readings were never recorded by the ship. I don't know what they are. The hologram zoomed in. There, at the base of her skull, was a dark flicker. A shadow inside her brain. A second outline barely visible, like a parasite made of pure distortion clinging to her neural pathways. Rhea staggered backward. No, that's not possible. The anomaly didn't kill you, the sphere said. It duplicated you. Badly. Her breath stopped. Duplicated. The word echoed in her skull like thunder. Rhea rasped, "Why tell me this? Why now?" The voice responded. "Because your other self is about to break through. And when it does, only one of you can remain real." The lights flickered. A horrible crackle filled the ship. And from the deepest corner of the room, a second voice whispered. Her voice. But warped, distorted, like someone speaking through shattered glass. "Rhea. I'm coming back." The temperature plunged. The metal around her began to ripple as if reality itself were bending inward. Fivo's screamed through the intercom. Non-local entity detected. Reality overlap in progress. Rhea's mind raced. Her duplicate was crossing over. Her shadow, or whatever replaced it, was returning to reclaim the body she'd stolen. Rhea raised her weapon. Sweat drifted from her forehead in 0G, floating as tiny droplets. She whispered to herself. Not today. Then she turned toward the sound. And saw a silhouette forming out of nothingness. Her silhouette. But tall, broken, flickering, like a corrupted reflection stepping out of a mirror made of nightmares. And it smiled. The silhouette solidified slowly, as if reality was struggling to decide whether it wanted to allow this thing to exist. It stepped out of the bend in space like a figure peeling itself out from behind invisible curtains. Its form was human, identical to Rhea's, but its edges glitched, vibrating like a corrupted hologram. Every second, its features flickered between solid and transparent. Fivo's, Rhea whispered, "Scan it." Fivo's voice cracked with distortion. Unable to classify. Signature overlaps with Commander Rhea Vance at 99.8%, and also at -12%. That should not be mathematically possible. Rhea tightened her grip on the plasma cutter. The entity tilted its head. The movement was wrong, too smooth and too sharp at the same time. Then it spoke. But the sound wasn't a voice. It was a chorus of her own voice, layered on top of one another. "You left me there, Rhea." A shiver ran down her spine. "No," she said quietly. "I didn't leave anyone. The collapse separated us." The creature smiled. It wasn't the warm smile she used to give crew members after rough landings. It was stretched too wide, too controlled, like a shadow trying to imitate emotion. "You walked out," the echo continued. "I stayed." The room darkened. Lights dimmed to a faint pulse, beating like a heart that wasn't theirs. The sphere hovered behind Rhea, silent now, watching. The echo stepped closer. "You don't understand what's coming, Rhea." Rhea raised the cutter. "Stop." The shadow halted. And then, it laughed. Not loud. Not aggressive. A soft, almost affectionate chuckle, which made it even worse. "You think that weapon works on me?" The echo stretched out a hand and passed it directly through a steel railing. The metal rippled like liquid where its fingers moved through it. Rhea's breath caught. "You're not fully here," she muttered. The echo's smile widened. "Neither are you." Rhea froze. A cold pressure wrapped around her chest, like invisible fingers squeezing her lungs. The ship groaned as a low, vibrating hum filled the room. Fivo's shouted over the internal comms. Reality density increase. Temporal overlap rising. "Commander, Move. Rhea dove sideways just as the Echo lunged. Its arm sliced through the wall, phasing it apart like foam. Rhea rolled, pushing herself back against a console. "Why are you doing this?" she gasped. The Echo writhed, its form blurring like smoke inside a storm. "Because you're incomplete," it whispered. "And I am what you lost." The sphere finally spoke again, its voice clearer, firmer, almost like another presence had taken over. "Rhea, listen carefully." Rhea didn't look away from the Echo, but she heard the urgency. "This entity is a fractured temporal remainder, a piece of you that was torn out of linear existence during the collapse. It is not merely your shadow. It is your unresolved self." Rhea spat out a breath. "So it wants to rejoin with me?" "No," the sphere said. "It wants to replace you." The Echo lunged again. This time faster, much faster. Rhea reacted on instinct, slamming her fist into a control panel. Emergency shutters dropped across the room, creating a barrier of thick glass-like material. The Echo crashed into it, phasing halfway through, but then got stuck, trapped in a vibrating limbo. Its distorted face pressed against the barrier. It whispered. "You can't run from yourself forever." Rhea stepped back, swallowing hard. "Fivos, seal the chamber." Metal shutters slammed down, cutting off the Echo completely. The temperature rose back to normal. The lights stopped flickering. Rhea braced herself against the wall, finally breathing again. The sphere floated closer. "You have very little time," it said. "The fracture is widening. Your counterpart grows stronger with every incursion." Rhea wiped sweat from her forehead. "So what do I do?" The sphere rotated once, its internal lights forming a swirling vortex. "Find the anchor point." "Anchor point?" "The exact moment your shadow tore away from you. The epicenter of the collapse." Rhea clenched her jaw. "You're talking about going back?" The sphere brightened. "Yes. And if you don't, the Echo will find a way to fully manifest. And the universe does not allow duplicates. One of you will remain. One will be erased." Rhea stared at the sealed door where her Echo still flickered, silently watching her through the metal. Her stomach turned. Two Rhea Vances could not exist. One would be overwritten. One would vanish. Slowly, she whispered to herself. "I'm not ready to die." The sphere replied. "Then return to where you were broken." The ship trembled, and suddenly the sound of metal scraping filled the hall. Rhea's blood ran cold. Her Echo was already trying to phase through the sealed door. The metal began to warp. Reality bent around it. And the whisper came again. "Rhea, let me in." The metal door buckled inward, warping like heated plastic as the Echo forced itself against reality's rules. Each push sent shockwaves through the ship, faint ripples that made the lights blur and the air feel thinner. Fivos' voice cracked through the intercom. "Commander, the entity is destabilizing the bulkhead. You must evacuate this section immediately." Rhea backed away, never taking her eyes off the door. Behind it, her Echo's silhouette flickered like a dying star, a twisted, vibrating outline that shifted between shapes, as if it couldn't decide what form to settle into. Then the voice seeped through the cracks, soft as smoke. "Don't go back, you don't want to see what you left behind." Rhea shivered. The sphere rotated, its outer ring spinning faster. "Ignore it." Temporal remnants used doubt as leverage. Rhea forced her legs to move. "How do I return to the anchor point?" she demanded. The sphere floated beside her as she moved down the corridor. "You must travel to the place where spacetime first fractured around you." "The collapse site." "Yes." Rhea exhaled sharply. That place was off-limit territory. A forbidden zone. Even approaching it was classified as suicidal. The anomaly had consumed entire research stations and torn patrol vessels into ribbons. Phevos, she called, prepare the coordinates for the collapse site. The AI hesitated. In all the years she'd known it, Phevos had never hesitated. Commander, returning there violates mission protocols, survival models, and rational decision-making. Then override them. I can't. Legally. Or logically. The sphere interjected. I can override it. Metal panels snapped open across the walls. The entire ship hummed as systems rebooted one by one. Navigation locks disengaged. Phevos sputtered. What are you doing? The anomaly is still active. Her counterpart grows stronger, the sphere replied. If we wait, she dies. Rhea touched her neck, feeling the phantom pressure where the echo had reached through reality itself. It had nearly pierced her. She didn't have days. She had hours. The corridor lights flickered again, this time not from the echo, but from the ship activating deep space thrusters. The sphere turned its glowing eye toward her. You must understand something, Rhea. What? This journey will not show you the truth you want. It will show you the truth you fear. Her jaw tightened. I've already seen enough fear. Not like this. A warning klaxon blared through the ship. Hull integrity compromised, Section 4 breaking down. The echo had reached another part of the ship. Rhea spun around. Phevos, seal all lower decks. Trying, but the entity is phasing through matter faster than the barrier shutters can form. Rhea felt her stomach twisting. Her echo wasn't chasing her. It was searching, tearing through compartments, corridors, storage units, like a predator looking for a scent. What is it looking for? Rhea whispered. The sphere answered instantly. It's looking for the moment you left it behind. Rhea felt her throat tighten. You mean, a memory? More than a memory. The sphere's voice lowered. A fragment of your timeline. The lights dimmed to red. The ship groaned under gravity fluctuations. Phevos' voice returned, trembling. Commander, the entity just destabilized the cryo bay. Rhea's heart skipped. The cryo bay contained the mission logs. Data recordings. Her black box memory file. The last place she'd been conscious during the collapse. She ran. Her boots slammed against the metal flooring as she sprinted through the corridor. Every turn echoed with distant metallic screams, the sound of bulkheads warping under unnatural forces. When she reached the cryo bay door, she froze. The temperature had dropped 20 degrees. Frost crawled across the walls like veins of ice. The door had caved inward. Not broken. Not bent. Pulled. Pulled toward something inside the dark. She stepped closer, breath fogging in the air. Phevos, she whispered. Minimal power in that section, sensors non-responsive. The sphere floated beside her, glowing faintly. It's inside. Rhea raised her weapon and stepped through. Inside the cryo bay. The room was unrecognizable. Every cryopod was shattered, suspended in midair like frozen shards caught in a time loop. The fragments weren't floating, they were stuck, vibrating, as if trapped between frames of reality. Rhea slowly moved deeper. Then she saw it. Her echo. It stood in front of her cryopod, the one she had crawled out of after the collapse. Its hand was pressed against the glass. Except the glass wasn't glass anymore. It was liquid. Reflective. Like a mirror melted into a pool of mercury. And in that shifting surface, there were two reflections. Rhea. And the echo. But the echo's reflection was solid. Rhea's was flickering. The entity turned to face her. Its voice whispered, broken and layered. You shouldn't have survived. Rhea steadied the cutter. I survived because I fought. The echo smiled painfully. No, you survived because I didn't. Her lungs tightened. The sphere interrupted. Rhea, listen, the anchor point is worsening. The longer you stay, the stronger it grows. You must leave. But the echo stepped forward. Its eyes hollow, but burning. You want the anchor point? It raised a hand, pointing to the collapsed cryopod. Then look. It's where your timeline tore. Rhea hesitated. The echo whispered, voice dropping into a trembling whisper. Go on. See what you left behind. Rhea moved toward the pod. Her heart hammered. Sweat froze on her skin. She reached out. And touched the liquid surface. It rippled. And her vision collapsed. The memory that shouldn't exist. Rhea stood in a room that wasn't real. Everything was made of fractured light, silhouettes, outlines, echoes of a place she barely remembered. She saw herself. Another her. Lying inside the cryopod, gasping for air as alarms blared. She watched the collapse unfold from outside her own body. The vibration. The blinding white light. The tearing sensation. And then. Shadow Rhea. Her shadow lifted off the floor, as if grabbed by invisible hands. It struggled. Screamed. Clawed at the air. The real Rhea watched in horror as her shadow was ripped away like a second skin. It wasn't darkness. It was a living imprint of herself, pulled into the anomaly. Her body convulsed. Her heartbeat flatlined. The memory Rhea's eyes opened, hollow and empty. And the shadow, screaming silently, was dragged into the collapsing anomaly. The echo whispered behind her. You didn't survive, Rhea. I did. Rhea's eyes flew open. She staggered backward, gasping. The sphere floated closer. Now you understand. You are not the original. You are the remainder. Rhea couldn't speak. Her echo stepped closer. This time, it didn't look monstrous. It looked hurt. Broken. Angry. You stole my life, Rhea. Rhea lifted the cutter with trembling hands. No. I didn't know. The echo reached toward her, voice cracking. Give it back. The ship shook violently. Reality rippled. The echo flickered, its shape collapsing and reforming. The sphere shouted. Rhea, run. If she merges with you now, neither of you will survive. Rhea turned. And the entire cryo bay shattered. The cryo bay shattered like glass around her. Rhea hit the ground hard, rolling across the metal floor as debris floated in slow motion. Time wasn't behaving normally anymore, every piece of wreckage flickered between fast and slow, real and unreal. Her echo stepped through the collapsing room like it belonged to the chaos. Its form was growing more stable. More solid. More alive. Rhea forced herself to her feet. Stay back. The echo tilted its head. Why? I'm not your enemy. I'm your correction. Rhea swallowed hard. I didn't steal anything. I was what remained, what survived. The echo's smile trembled with rage. No, you are the mistake the collapse spat out. The sphere floated between them, spinning faster than ever, glowing with warning scripts. The merge point is forming. If she reaches you, your identities will compress. One timeline will overwrite the other. Rhea stepped back. So what do I do? You must return to the anomaly. Reconnect with the moment your shadow was torn away. Rhea shook her head. That will kill me. The sphere corrected her. It will decide who deserves to live. The echo stepped closer, each movement absorbing the light around it. Come home, Rhea. We belong together. We were one. Rhea raised her weapon. No. We were one. But now we're different. The echo's eyes darkened. Then I'll take your place. The floor ruptured, gravity twisted, and the entire ship flipped sideways as the anomaly's energy erupted through the cryo bay. Rhea felt the universe tilt. The sphere grabbed her arm. Well, not grabbed, but suspended her with a pulse of force. Rhea! We must leave, now. Behind her, the echo screamed. Not in pain. But in triumph. You can't escape me. I am your origin. Rhea sprinted through the collapsing corridor, dodging floating debris. Phevos shouted through the speakers. The anomaly's pull is increasing. Propulsion offline. Structural failure imminent. A rupture of light swallowed half the hallway. Rhea dove through a closing blast door. The sphere followed. The echo's voice echoed through the steel walls. Rhea, you can't run from your own beginning. Rhea gasped for breath. Her chest burned. Her mind raced. The collapse site, she whispered. Take me there. The sphere pulsed once. Brace yourself. And for the first time in weeks, Rhea allowed herself to be afraid. The conclusion. Full cinematic ending. The ship lurched as the sphere activated an emergency temporal jump. Windows streaked into lines. Stars bent. Space folded around them. The sphere spoke over the roar. This jump will bring us directly to the event horizon of the anomaly. Your counterpart will follow. She must. Rhea closed her eyes. She felt the ship rip through spacetime like a stone skipping across the surface of a dark ocean. Then. Silence. When she opened her eyes, she saw it. The collapse. The wound in the universe. A swirling, impossible vortex of light and darkness twisting together, pulling everything inward like a cosmic heartbeat. Rhea's stomach nodded. I remember this place. The sphere floated forward. Go. Step into the radius. Your shadow remains in there. Your truth remains in there. Rhea stepped forward. The vortex's wind pulled at her hair, her suit, her thoughts. Then she heard it. Behind her. The echo. Its voice was no longer distorted. It was calm. Cold. Whole. You came back. Rhea turned slowly. Her echo hovered above the edge of the vortex, fully solid now, a perfect copy. No glitch. No distortion. It had become real. This is where we end, Rhea, the echo said. One of us was always temporary. Rhea raised her chin. I'm not giving up my life. The echo extended a hand. It was never yours. With a scream, the echo lunged. But the sphere intercepted, exploding with light. The force hurled both Rhea and her echo into opposite arcs of the vortex. Rhea tumbled through spirals of time, visions flashing around her. Her childhood. Her training. Her first mission. Her fears. Her collapse. And then. She saw her shadow. The real one. Floating in the anomaly like a torn memory. Reaching for her. Rhea stretched out her hand. I'm here, she whispered. Her shadow touched her fingers. And fused into her. Light burned through her veins. She felt whole for the first time since the collapse. But across the vortex. Her echo screamed as its form began unraveling. No. I am real. I am you. Rhea stood, glowing with the strength of her restored self. No, she said softly. You were the echo. I was the survivor. The vortex roared. The echo's form tore apart like dust in a storm. Shredded into fragments of displaced time. And vanished into the rift. Rhea closed her eyes as the sphere spoke gently. It is done. You are whole. The collapse dimmed. The vortex tightened. And then imploded into nothing. Silence. Rhea drifted in the quiet emptiness of space, breathing slowly, her heartbeat steady again. Fivo's voice crackled through the static. "Commander, welcome back." Rhea exhaled. Behind her, the stars looked calm again. She whispered. "This time, I keep my shadow." And she turned her ship toward home.